Wow.
And he sent me pictures. There's nothing. It's still in immaculate shape because it's well maintained. If you will maintain your property, it's just like your site bill.
Exactly.
If you don't maintain it, it can go down. But anyway, they did. Now it's a conditional use. So now if you want to have a manufactured home, and it can't be more than 7 years.
What? So people who live in manufactured housing have to have if you're going to be new out there. Oh, it doesn't grandfather in what you have?
It did not. Nowhere in the ordinance did they have nowhere in the ordinance did it say. So what people are very concerned about is there are a lot of people that have manufactured homes that are 10, 15, 20, 30 years old. They own 6, 10, 20, 30, 40 acres in the agriculture area, and they're saying, they just devalued my property, and am I going to be able to sell it? We had a lady that came in, lost her husband, came to my office last week in tears because she lost her husband. She's wanting to sell her land, and she's afraid I'm not going to be able to sell it, and I'm not going to be able to get out of it what we put into it, and I've maintained it. I've talked to realtors. I've talked to banks. I've talked to lenders. I plan to have a Zoom call with my large lenders because I'm very concerned. Are they even going to want to offer a 30-year mortgage on a manufactured home in Rankin County now? And so I don't really think, maybe they did, but I just find it hard to believe that the supervisors, because I know these guys, and I do know that they live in Rankin County. I do believe they care about Rankin County. I don't think they know the extent of the repercussions that it's going to result by doing this 7 year. And I've talked to some lenders in just local banks that do manufactured. There are a lot of local banks. Community Bank is one that, people have 10 acres, they'll buy a manufactured home. So there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of questions.
You mean, let me just say, so if you have a manufactured home, a trailer up at, let's say, Ludlow or out from Ludlow, which is kind of in the middle of the county. If I had one of these homes and it's 10 years old, and I got a couple acres, somebody's going to say, well, you have to get that. You have to replace that home. I'm like,
you don't have to. What? Well, you don't have to replace it, and no one has to move. Okay. Nobody has to move. So I want to make that clear. No one has to move where they are. But what should have been done is they should have put a grandfather clause in there that say if you are already existing, yes, you can sell your property at where you are. You can sell that. But if a tree falls on your home, if your home is destroyed by fire or whatever, you have to replace it with a new home less than 7 years. That concerns me because I wish I could say that everybody had replacement value insurance, but even in site built, people don't always have the correct amount of insurance in replacing a home. And also, you have a lot of chicken houses, other agriculture areas in Rankin County. A lot of people will buy a 10 or 15-year-old home, which is still in great condition, and they will house their workers in that. So some have seasonal workers that come in. So now they will not be able to do that. And
they can't do that, or they can't do it with that particular house.
Well, you can't buy if this zoning stays in place, and if this is not amended by the supervisors, or if they do not rescind this vote, which they can, then you will. If you try to buy a new house in those agriculture areas, you can't go buy a 10 or 15-year-old anymore. You cannot.
Well, it sounds like an HOA gone mad to begin with. And then the other thing is, whose business is it of somebody's?
Well, that's what these people are saying that are talking to me. We live in the country. We live in an agriculture area. It's not only just manufactured homes, but you also cannot add to your barn, do a lean-to, can't build a new shed, can't build a new chicken house. You can't build any structure, accessory structure now in agriculture without first going through their planning committee before you even get a permit. A lot of people do not know that. So even besides manufactured housing, you cannot do that. So
ever or now? Ever or with this new law?
With this new zoning is from here on if they do not amend it.
When
that
did
is
this
correct.
Allegedly when did it take effect?
So it was voted on the 7th. A week later they had a meeting and they adopted the minutes. So it is now, once they adopt the minute, it becomes. And unfortunately in our law, and I really hope that legislators are listening because they need to change. You only have 10 days to appeal. I already told you nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this.
We got to find out. And Lance wants to jump in too because he's been onto this.
Well, I wanted to say that the 174-page document is now available on rankincounty.org. So that is the ordinance and all of the definitions and all of the things that are affected by that. That is available for our listeners to go look. I mean, it has adult cabarets, adult bookstores, and if you go through the whole thing, it is a hodgepodge of junk. I mean, it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of thought to me. After talking with Ms. Hall the other day, my main worry, as I stated to her, is who in the heck's going to loan money?
That's correct.
To anybody.
Yeah.
What if you have a
Correct.
6-year-old mobile home that was worth $50,000, but now at year 7, what does that mean? And what is the bank going to do when you still owe $50,000 and now say your mobile home is worth $20,000? Well, we had that problem in 2008. Remember, everybody's homes were upside down.
That's
Banks
right.
were calling saying, "I need money now, or you
That's
move
right.
out." And it took a law to stop people from being evicted.
That's right.
Same happened in COVID. People were getting evicted. So what are we doing here? I guess that's my greater question.
Exactly. Are they trying to make? What are they trying to do? Make Rankin County look pretty? I mean,
And again, if you don't want manufactured homes, say it.
Yeah.
Come out in the open and say if you do not
you don't
want
want those,
manufactured homes in Rankin County, then that's okay. But as she said, you don't have to move anything. But if my property's worth nothing now, maybe I have to move it to Holmes County to sell it. Maybe I have to move it over here to Smith County to have a place to sit and go, oh, yeah, it is worth what I paid for it. But then on the flip side, do you know how much it costs to move a mobile home?
It must be
It is-
gargantuan.
or to dig a hole and bury it. If you say, well, it doesn't cost, it's not worth anything anymore. It is very expensive.
But
That's terrible.
that is just we have national studies that show if manufactured home is maintained, it does keep its value. And I can tell you, can go to Starkville, Mississippi right now, and you can go to a park up there. And when I went to Mississippi State, there's still homes sitting in that park, and they're selling for $25,000-$30,000, and they're 40 years old because it's location.
You have the same thing over here as soon as you cross the reservoir before you go into the Rankin County side.
Yep.
That manufactured housing park has
Yep.
been there forever. I have a
Oh,
cousin
yeah.
that lived in it
Yep.
for 20 years. And
Yes.
you go drive
Yeah.
through there, they're not all brand new.
No,
You got a
they're
lot of
not.
them taken care of very
No.
well.
That is
very well.
yeah. Is that in Rankin County?
No, it's in
No,
Ridgeland.
that's Ridgeland.
That's
but
Ridgeland.
again,
That's
the
the
point is,
dittos.
that's
Very
the dittos on
end.
that.
that's homes for people.
Yeah, it is.
That's their livelihood.
Well, and I think that's what people are upset. Like I said, within 3 days, it was over 500 calls. They just never stopped. From 5:30 in the morning, they started calling my cell. They did not stop. And even this weekend, I was still getting calls about, can I join the appeal? So Thursday, the law says you have 10 days to appeal. If you do not appeal on the 10th day, you have no recourse. So we had to appeal. Now, are we willing to sit down and these people and work with our appellates and meet with the supervisors? Absolutely. But we had to file the appeal, and we have 133 landowners signed on with us, the most I have ever had in doing an appeal case in this state.
I do not claim to know everything that goes on in Rankin County, even though I live there, but I never heard of this until I saw on the WWT website the other day. I said, oh, got to put Jennifer on the show, because this still sounds a little hinky to me. But so was there no publicity ahead of time? How did people know about this? Who said anything? WWT found out about it, but before this meeting, all this kind of stuff, how did anybody find out about it?
Well, again, our law that needs to be changed is you have to advertise in your local newspaper,
Which is
at
what?
least 2 times, which is Rankin County News. And again, most of the people today do not take the newspaper. I take it because I like to know stuff going on locally. But most people get their news from their apps, their phone, listening to the radio. That's how they get it.
Yep.
Our blogs are looking at on social media. And so they did run 2 ads the same day, March 19th, in the legal section. Oh, we all read that, right? When we can't go to sleep at night, we open up the legal section. Yeah, right.
Yes.
So anyway, they checked the box. So they had their public hearing at 9 in the morning. When working people are working, and then they voted at 10.
And how many days ahead of time did these ads, 2
On
ads?
March 19th. And they on March 19th, and they voted April the 7th.
Oh, there was a whole lot of time in there, wasn't there?
Yep. But if they had put one in the week before and done 2 weeks consecutively, somebody might have read it or found out about it. But 14 years ago, Rankin County tried to do some of this zoning in agriculture, and at that time, Wood Brown was supervisor, and he called me and said, Jennifer, we're doing our land use, come meet with us. So I sat in on some of the planning sessions. I worked with them. I said, people are not going to like this. We had a public meeting at the Monterey Fire Station. It was jam-packed full. Almost 300 people showed up opposing it. So if they would have had some public meetings, I just feel like if you are going to change the land use of someone who has worked hard to buy that land, pay their taxes, or land that's been in families for generation, just let them know what you're going to do with their land. They have a right to know that.
Well, the whole thing sounds so, I don't know, very, very strange. It's very odd. Somebody had an agenda, apparently. And sure, we want things nice. Is that putting it quietly, nicely, politely?
I love the way you put that.
Yes.
Count on you to
well,
say it
thank
the way
you
it
very
is.
much. Well, that's true too. There's something kind of doesn't have a good odor about it. The way that this whole thing was done. Sure, everybody wants nice stuff. You want nice property maintained, all that kind of stuff. You want your county nice, you want your city nice, and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like well, where did this come from? Who started this anyway? Who was it? There must be some person who said we've got to do this stuff. Somebody on that board, or either a board person's got the idea, or somebody said to them, "Hey, y'all need to do something about them trailers in Rankin County."
Why wouldn't you start with derelict properties, though? Why wouldn't you start
and
with
they already
abandoned...
have ordinance. They do have ordinances that if people do not maintain and they actually called them before, and they're going to have a public hearing that they don't maintain their property. They got stuff out in the cars and all that. They already have that in place. So they have already regulations that you have to maintain your property.
Well,
but I think that manufactured homes, our homes today are built so much better and nicer than they ever have before. I've been doing this for 29 years, and they have improved.
I want to take a break, and then we're going to come back and do one more segment with Jennifer Hall, Executive Director, the Mississippi Manufactured Housing Association. Stay where you are.
They were crazy.
Oh, okay.
A lot of fun.
Sort of like you.
Yes, I would say
that.
if there was a band that was my personality, that would be them, the Kentucky Headhunters. Yeah.
The Kentucky. Okay, so this is Mary Wieden You, and Jennifer Hall is here, Executive Director of the Mississippi Manufactured Housing Association. We're talking about these new rules in effect for manufactured housing in the entire Rankin County, and it has to do with if you're gonna locate there, and you want to live in one of those homes, which most people call in the agricultural area, most people refer to them as trailers. It has to be no older than 7 or 6 years. 7 years old. You can't. If I found one for a really good price that's 8 or 9 years old, I couldn't do it. Well, why is this happening? What's the deal here? And you are appealing this because it got rammed through it rather quickly. What court are you going to, by the way?
It goes to circuit. We filed it with the circuit clerk. It will go to circuit court. So we filed the appeal, and so there'll be a time now that the Board of Supervisors can respond to our appeal. We have requested a lot of documents, like the planning documents, all the stuff that went on before they decided to adopt this. So we have requested all that. They have 14 days to respond to that, to give, to say yes, that. And so they will get back to us, and then they will have a response to our appeal. As I said, we had 133 landowners sign on the appeal with us that were very upset, that do own property in Rankin County in either the Agriculture 1 or 2 or RE1 agriculture.
This was passed by the Rankin County Board of Supervisors and presented to them by whom? Some planning committee or some? Do we have something in Rankin County?
Well, they do have a planning commission. They do have a planning and zoning commission, and I was not privy. I was not invited to be a part of any of that planning as I was 14 years ago, but I was not. So I don't really know all the ins and outs, and I'm sure
it is something.
It is.
Go read. I mean, I'm on page 44
of how many
out of 174 right now. It's pretty deep. People ought to go take a look at it.
They should. And the amendments, I think, are listed separately. That you can also click on there and find the amendments. One thing also in the Pisgah area, they did adopt a restriction of 5 acres. You cannot subdivide your land in the Pisgah area to 5 acres. So if you own 6 acres, you cannot give your children 2 acres, or you have to. It's limited to 5 acres now. So that's something that's new.
That's part of this whole thing.
It is. And then, as I told you before, I also represent modular homes. Modular didn't even have a definition to Katrina. Governor Haley Barbour, in order to rebuild the coast back rapidly, we had to come up with a definition of modular homes, and per the national definition, modular home is built to the International Residential Code. It is built in a factory setting, so you don't have pickup trucks of waste like at site-built homes, but it has to meet every nick and cranny of every dot, everything of the IRC code. Mississippi's Building Code Council, which I serve on, has adopted the 2018 code. And so we have to build those homes to the same code as site built. Yet Rankin County has restricted those from all residential area.
But according to this new thing.
According to the new thing.
I was going to make the point that these Rankin County supervisors, those are the same ones, as I recall, because I live there, that and I saw this on TV too, that when the legislature handed out teacher pay raises a few years ago, they decided that they were going to add, each teacher was going to get an extra $15,000 a year. Yeah, you don't remember that? Yeah, that's only because I saw a little story on Channel 16. Yeah, every teacher's going to get, they were going to just give them $15,000 more a year. Ka-ching, all the property taxes.
That's my question here is, this is an unfunded mandate. Where's the money coming from to enforce all of this? I mean, that's
a fair question.
Taxpayers have to pay that. And you're telling me you can't patrol because Rankin County's too big and you can't hire any more SOs, but you got money to enforce and, milk blood out of a turnip. I mean, you got money to go hire people to do all this. So I'm just, it's odd because everything costs money.
And we were under the gun to get this appeal done. We are hosting a public meeting with the concerned citizens that have signed on to the appeal. That will be May 1st at 6 p.m. at the Brandon Municipal Complex. We will be putting that out on social media, on the other news network. I'm going to email y'all the ad. We are doing a quarter-page ad in the local paper in color, so hopefully it will get people's attention.
And I do hope that you go beyond the newspaper. I was going to say the whole thing about you got to go online,
social media.
You got to go on social media. I mean, do it on Instagram, Twitter X. Those are the two. That are good big ones.
Correct, and like Talk Florence and Talk Pisgah, all of those communities. And SuperTalk Mississippi, and I'm going to email y'all the ad so y'all can put it on your website. But we will be having that. Our attorney will be there to be explaining these, because people just have so many questions. We still have people calling the office and calling me saying, can I be on the appeal? They want to sign a petition. People are saying, can we start a petition? We certainly can do all of that. But I really hope that the Rankin County supervisors, they absolutely could meet tomorrow. They could call a meeting and they could rescind this vote, and that would mean, we're going to take that vote back, go back to our existing zoning, or they could amend it and listen to people. They could actually host public meetings, not a public hearing, but public meetings, and get people's input if they really care about what their constituents think. And I urge them to do that.
I want to make the point that we want Rankin County to look the best.
Absolutely.
Be the best. I mean, we're not saying,
absolutely.
let things fall down and don't worry about it. We're not saying that at all.
No, we're not.
No, I mean, I want the county to look great, too.
I do,
that's
too.
not what,
that's not what they're doing. No,
that's not what they're doing.
It's this other stuff.
They're actually dictating to people what kind of house they can live in.
And how much it can be worth.
And how
I mean,
that's correct.
Are you going to tell me in a few years that my zero turn that's sitting out is 10 years old and it isn't good enough for you anymore?
That's right.
You're going to look at my car. You're going to tell me because it was purchased in 2013, it's not good enough for us anymore. Even though you take care of everything. I guess that's my question is what could possibly come next if you can determine the value of people's livelihoods and then tell them, hey, we don't care. We don't care if you've put your whole life into this or if you've taken care of it or what. We don't like it.
Yeah, that's
and people are saying, I mean, land has been in these families for generations, and their great grandparents and bought that land, and they wanted it to be agriculture. They wanted to be in the country so they could build what they wanted to, live what they live in. They wanted to have pigs, chicken, horses, and I commend them. If that's a lifestyle that you want to have, this is America, and you should still have that lifestyle if that's what you choose.
Are any other counties doing anything like this?
Oh, well, yes. We do fight this. We have a ongoing battle with Tate County that we've been doing 2.5 years. They did the same thing. They did have a little public hearing, but again, the people didn't know about it. They voted on it. There was a group called My Land, My Rights, Our Land, Our Rights, and 3 women got on there and started their little Facebook and they've got over 10,000 followers. We appealed that. That's been in court. It's continuing. We went for oral arguments just a couple weeks ago, and so the judge has continued. He's now directed us to talk and see if we can find out. But the one thing is that started 2.5 years ago, and when it came time for election, that group got out, recruited people to run for those supervisors, and they beat 4 out of the 5 supervisors because of that zoning issue.
Yes, yeah.
And then Lee County earlier this year did the same thing. passed very quickly, but people rose up, a conservative coalition, and the people had public meetings, and about 3 weeks later, we filed the appeal, and then there was so much outcry from the residents of Lee County that the board rescinded that vote.
We are so close to the most recent election. Now is a good time to do stuff that's horrible, because they will think that come election time, they're going to forget about it. They won't remember that. They're not going to remember that. I'll just tell them some bunch of nice things I've been doing for my county, blah, 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 blah. Well, no. People like you are smart enough to know, no, you have a memory. And so do people have a memory, too.
The law needs to be changed. It does not need to say in your local newspaper. It needs to be they need to be required to put it on social media.
You might as well etch it into a brick and throw it out the door.
There you go. And so that law needs to be changed. I hope legislators will think about that. And then it has to be, Rankin County is in very good financial shape, and I just thinking when you're dealing with some people property, why can't you just let them know in writing? Why can't you send them a letter? Why can't you send them a postcard?
Why do we have to be so secretive about everything? That's the thing that just galls me to no end. Just absolutely galls me.
And you and I talked off the air. My husband did call when MDOT was going to put a road in.
Yes.
They had to put a road in and do a new area. They had to have multiple public meetings with landowners. They advertised it in the paper. They got it. They put it on their website. They contacted the local media, the newspapers, and the news TV stations, radio. They got it out to all of the media to say, we're having this public meeting before MDOT would adopt a route. Well, if it's important to put a road in, is it not important also to let people know how they can use their land and what kind of home they can buy?
It just depends on who's in charge of stuff. And, okay, people aren't going to like me to say this, but I'll say this. Everybody knows that the supervisors run stuff in Mississippi. That's just the way that goes. I remember a few years ago, quite more than a few years ago, there was this thing to vote on during election time. Was a county could have less than 5 supervisors. And that was resoundingly defeated. Now, like, it's a Queen County.
Correct. You're right.
What do they need 5?
You're right.
Well, they need 5 for with the cars, all the different things. A little county like that, well, a little low population county, they don't need 5. What do we need 5 supervisors in Hinds County for? You got a whole Jackson takes care of everything, but the supervisors want that power. Supervisors, and you all are welcome to come on here and talk about it if you'd like to, because I'm not.
And they got a raise a couple years ago.
I mean, they did.
Yeah,
well,
65,000.
Oh.
Yeah, the legislature voted that before the election.
Yep. Oh, well, that was, well, there you go there. There was the reason behind all that kind of stuff. But, some things have to change. And this kind of stuff is nuts. I don't see, did anybody ever offer a reason for why they're doing this? I mean,
I did talk to, Jay Bishop is the only supervisor who voted no. Jay Bishop was on the board 14 years ago, and he and I talked. He said, look, I told him they didn't need to do this. And I said, Jay, we met with y'all 14 years ago. Y'all had a public meeting. You heard the outcry from the people. And I'm just very disappointed that they did not think enough of the constituents and the citizens of Rankin County to have a public meeting to get their input. I don't understand why did you not want that? Did you not want to hear the negative? Did you not want to hear the no? Because you're messing with people's land, and they are upset.
Well, why do we have to think about replacing supervisors? Why not change the law? Like there was
Correct.
the law that says supervisors can raise your taxes by so many mills a year without, I don't even know the teacher thing. I would say that was taxation without representation, because like I say, I watch my bills go up. And I spoke about this to a rather prominent person who's not in the legislature anymore. And I said, well, he goes, well, can't you just vote for somebody else? Why don't you just vote for somebody? That's not the point. The point is, you're in the legislature. Why do we have to allow people to do this? These supposed leaders do this kind of stuff. But no, it's not them. Oh, okay. You're crazy. Oh, okay, I guess I'm crazy.
And let me say, I commend, as you know, I commend anyone that runs for an office, a political. Because my husband ran, and look, it takes a lot.
Yes, it does. 24/7.
That's right. You're on 24/7. You're there to serve the people. All I ask though is just please, when you are dealing with land use, I just feel like if you're going to change the use of my land that I bought, just notify me.
Okay, May 1, hearing at the Brandon Municipal Complex.
It's a public meeting, not a hearing. Public meeting, May 1, 6 p.m. at the Brandon Municipal Complex.
And it'll be on social media. Well, newspapers we don't have anymore, but Rankin County Record and stuff. Yes. Jennifer Hall, thanks an awful lot. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for being interested. I'll keep you posted.
Well, thank you.
Stay tuned.
We'll be back. Now we're going to talk about how you can clean up Jackson without lifting a shovel. Stay with us. My best Angel song is Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground by Willie, which is about his mama.
That's a great one, yeah.
It's his favorite song. It was about his mother. I think she's like a hooker or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that to be derogatory, but that's just kind of what she was. And I think he knew that. But anyway, welcome back to Mary Wieden and You. Richard Greenlee is here. He's with Ratchet Entertainment. And here's the deal. You all know Locke Ward now from real estate, but you know him from cleaning up Jackson. And he started this thing a couple of years ago. These streets gutters look terrible. I'm going to do something about that. And has blossomed. Now there's a nonprofit, right, called
Yes.
Clean Up Jackson. And Richard is here to talk about a big thing coming up that you can take part in. You can, as I say on my Twitter page, you can clean up Jackson without lifting up a shovel. Just need maybe a pen, right?
Exactly.
Your pen and your checkbook. So welcome. What's going on?
Not much. We have you mentioned Locke and his Clean Up Jackson that started about 18 months ago, and he's really taken off. And we're doing our first ever fundraising concert on Friday, May the 2nd at Cathead Distillery in downtown Jackson. All proceeds are going to his effort to clean up Jackson.
It's working, isn't it?
It is.
I mean,
it
yeah,
is.
you were just telling me some stuff about not just Locke, but what's blossoming out because of this. I'm gonna say, what day of the week is that? May
It's
2nd?
Friday, May the 2nd.
So it's a week from Friday.
It's like It's like 8 days from now. It's coming up.
Oh, is it that fast?
It is.
Golly.
It just kind of took off because, Locke has a childhood friend named Richard Grober from Jackson, and he has a band called Panic Stricken. It's a widespread panic tribute band that really blew up about 2 years ago. It's a separate side story. But Richard's been following what Locke has been doing here. He's from Austin, Texas. And he said, how can I help? And Locke said, that's easy. Get your band to come play a concert for us here. So he asked me, he said, Richard, I don't know anything about putting on concerts. Can you produce it? I said, absolutely. So the people at Cathead Distillery, which has a beautiful venue downtown, great, where they have the big Cathead Jam every year, said, sure, we'd love to host you. So it all came together kind of in February, which is pretty quick turnaround, but we're really trying to get the word out.
Yeah, Panic Stricken and Humid Subtropic. Who are they?
Humid Subtropic was a local group that play at Martin's all the time, and they play at Cathead. There used to be a band called Delta. They're a jam band, but they're funk jam. You don't have to be a jam band fan to enjoy the show, but they're really good, have a great following. They're really, really cool and kind of funky, and they fill up Martin's all the time. So they're local. And Panic Stricken is a widespread panic tribute band out of Austin, Texas that really blew up 2 years ago. And again, it's a side story. I'd be glad to tell you, but it's really interesting how they came to be.
So Clean Up Jackson became an organization. It's a nonprofit organization, and is Locke the head of it, or
Locke,
is?
it started in November of 23. Locke just really
That's when he started doing his
He really
thing.
got tired of looking at these streets out showing
Yes.
houses, and he said he got a rake and a shovel, started cleaning it up, and then a second person caught on, the third, and now he's got some partnerships, and every Friday there are 20 or 30 people. They started with the underpasses, and they started with the actual interstate, and now they're doing storm drain gutters. They've cleaned up over 250 storm drain gutters. Where streets are flooding, and the vacuum trucks aren't existent anymore because they're for 2 years been in the shop. And so he's out just doing stuff.
People will call up and say, will you come and clean my street? Mm-hmm. Wayneland was one of the ones that I think the last time he was on there, people were wanting Wayneland to be cleaned up. So I guess it is.
Then go clean it up. Pick up garbage.
Well, but if you got somebody to do it, but people will learn. Tell me about the kids, though. You were talking about kids who are taking this stuff.
Yeah, and Locke has he's doing this about a year and a half, and he does his own social media posts, and he's got a lot of recognition, and there are about 3 or 4 different groups of kids that have Facebook pages now that have seen what he's done. He's kind of their mentor, and they've started doing their own neighborhoods in West Jackson, South Jackson, just on Saturdays getting out and cleaning up their neighborhoods, just making it more beautiful. And they really give it all back to Locke because that's where they got the idea from. So it's really catching on.
That's excellent. And it's not hard to do.
No.
I mean, I know because I've done a lot of yard work over the years, basic yard work, let alone I haven't put stuff in the streets. But, it's not hard to do. And it's instant gratification. A lot of things you have to wait. But, when you do stuff like this, there's instant gratification. And for kids, it teaches them property ownership responsibility and just general community responsibility in general. I think that's a wonderful thing.
That's great.
So how did you know about this? How did you hear about this?
Well, Locke, I've been friends for a long time, and Locke asked, like I said, when Richard said, Grober, who I've done a Panic Stricken show before in Jackson at Halloween Mouse, he said, how can we help? He said, let's put it on. Because I put on concerts and festivals through Ratchet Entertainment Group, and I actually have a company called Ratchet Y'all Productions, which is a 501c3 that was designed for doing concerts for nonprofits. I've done stuff for the Children's Hospital, American Heart Association in Texas, and so it really helps take out all the legal work. And we deal with boards and lawyers and insurance and liability. So no, I'll do it all. I have a nonprofit. We'll run all through it, and I'll write a check at the end of the day. All proceeds after expenses go straight to the effort.
So you want to raise money? How much are you looking to raise?
As much as we can. Again, we're just trying to have people.
No limit.
We're doing
Sky
two
has no
things.
limit.
We're trying to raise awareness and put on an event, something the community can appreciate. And tickets are $20. I mean, for people, bands that Panic Stricken alone is charging $50 when they play other places, and you get 2 bands, food trucks, tents, tables, a full festival setup, full production for $20.
Wow! And what time is it?
It's
it can be done
at 5. The gates open at 5:30 on Friday, and that's people that work downtown don't want to leave. The first band, Human Subtropic, starts at 7 to about 8, and at 8:30 to about 10, Panic Stricken comes on, and it's full production. We have VIP tables, a VIP section,
food.
I mean, food trucks there, but there's some restaurants that are donating food to the VIP section. So it's really a fun, great time. And he like says, I want it to be like a Jubilee Jam. Just everybody get together and come. But it raises money for a good cause.
That was one of the best things that Jackson ever had was Jubilee Jam. That was fun. I don't know what happened there, but it did. Well, that's really
and
cool.
you can get tickets and all information at my website. It's Ratchet Entertainment with a W. It's
you gotta spell it.
WRATCHET entertainment.com.
WRATCHET.
How much do the VIPs, the tickets for
It's $100 for VIP, and we also have tables of 8 for $1,000, which is $125 with table service. But VIP, you get front row viewing, you get air conditioned heated bathroom. I mean, like Palumo, the restaurant that is doing, and Amerigo, and some other people are doing
Primo.
No, it's Palumo down at, we're talking about at Fertile Ground, the restaurant right next to.
I can't remember the name, but I know exactly where you're talking about.
But he's an incredible chef. Chef Chaz is going to do food for the VIP table and tents, and other restaurant blocks really calling in favors to make it a really nice event.
Well, this is amazing. I bet when he started doing this, he had no idea something like this was going to happen. Really,
He did, and like I said, it costs money. You don't realize when you have dump trailers and trucks, and now he's got crews he's got to hire because they've got every Friday they've got crews all over.
Yeah, he does have I don't know how many people are on it, but he's not necessarily. He can't be in 3 places at once, so he's got crews who do the work with him and for him.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazingly wonderful.
And Locke's the kind of guy that he asked for forgiveness, not permission. Like when he first started, he said it started with going down the interstate at 55. It's just trash.
I think people
and
thought he
grass.
was nuts, didn't they? They think, "Oh, the heck is this guy?" Right?
So he called JPD. They have an officer that had a car flashing, and he had a dump trailer going down the side of the interstate.
Good.
And so that actually belongs to MDOT. And MDOT sent him a cease and desist letter saying, that's dangerous. He said, well, I'm not going to stop. You can do it or we can do it. So now they work together and
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Yeah. I mean, But at first, I'm sure people thought that, the guy's whacked or something like that. Why would you care? Who do you care? Why do you care about that?
Yeah.
But he does. I think he was one who talked about there was some sort of a place. I don't know, it was a barbershop or something like this. It was real nice out in front of the store, but then there was at the end of their property was a weedy bunch, and then there was trash in the streets. Like, what kind of sense does that make for a city? So
exactly, like I said, he's in the real estate business. He makes a living selling, values of property up or down affect his bottom line. So he started doing that, and it's caught on. Now it's just a passion. It's
Exactly. You got to have a website for people to get some information on this. What's your website?
It's Ratchet Entertainment.
WRATCHET Entertainment, all one word.
.com.
Okay. .com, and so they can get information. Is there a Clean Up Jackson website?
Not yet. We're working on that. Again, he's grown this organically. He just had to got a bank account, 6 months ago, so in a 501c3, and so it just started out as a personal thing, and now it's really grown.
So what does he want to do with the money that you raise? Because he's going to raise a bunch.
Yeah, he needs people. He needs more work. It needs workers. We got people. Last week, they're out with chainsaws and cutting up trees that fall on the road and hauling those off. So it takes money. You can only do so much as a volunteer.
Well, yeah.
So
did put on my Twitter X page. I put as I said, I was telling you earlier, that I put how you can clean up Jackson without having to lift a shovel. And I found some god awful ditch with stuff in it, and that's very real. That's very real from Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got plenty of volunteers, people, but it takes takes crews and trailers and equipment.
Yes. Yeah, he's got to get some.
Got to rent those or borrow those or,
What does he do? Mostly rent them or?
Yeah, and he's got companies that has them that he hires to, you've got to pay employees to do,
Does he have like a warehouse or something where he keeps the stuff? Where he keeps his equipment?
Well, he's got a partner that I think is in the business that does, and he's got to pay those guys, the workers to come out, and but it's just I think he's raised over $140,000, but he's never tried to raise money. People just donate.
Yeah, really.
So it's really exponentially increased what he can do.
People probably wonder, well, why did you have him on? Well, he's been on the show a couple times. Plus, he's probably out cleaning up stuff right now. Well, it's some rainy day, You'd run in and do a couple things before it rains again. But because he's running hard. And
on his personal Facebook page and his realtor page, every Friday you can see he documents everything he does, all the stories about it. So it's great.
Well, we're out of time. Just to say thank you very much, Richard, and so it's ratchetentertainment.com and the fundraiser at Cathead Gallery, what's the word? Distillery is Friday, May 2. Cathead Distillery. So good luck. Hope you raise a ton of money. This is a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you. All righty, everybody. Now remember, vote today. Vote today. Do not be dissuaded by rain. Just get out there and vote. It's real important everywhere, but especially in Jackson, because the city needs your vote. Let's put it that way. City needs your vote. All right, everybody. See you. Thank you, Lance. Did a nice job with Jennifer, too, by the way. See you all on Friday.